All right, apologies for my voice. I am having a cold. Just got through 2 weeks of back pain. Thought I was doing much better, and then I catch a cold. I can catch a cold, but not a break. Anyway, this is a video that I thought of recently after completing these shows of the similarities and whatnot between Doom Patrol and the Umbrella Academy, and the natures thereof and all that. So Doom Patrol Season 2 was a show I was watching regularly, and then I lost interest and got off track and didn't finish reviewing the episode, which probably should tell you my opinion of the second season. And so then at the same time I started on Umbrella Academy, which I hadn't gotten around to, and I came up with this idea. I'll combine them all in one video after watching them. So Doom Patrol Season 2, again with Doom Patrol, it's in some ways it's the best of which was the DC Universe shows, is now part of HBO Max. Out of that, and that these shows had better trappings than the CW shows, and better accessories and decorations, if you will, but ultimately they end up just being CW shows, and Doom Patrol is no different. But Doom Patrol itself, in a lot of ways, was the best of the shows there. Now, looking at it with the late entry before DC Universe folded, and well, now it's a comic book site, but anyway, Stargirl came out to be probably the best overall. Just the basics of story and plot, your character development and all of that is all there and processed well, and doesn't deviate from it enough, and doesn't rely on too much filler and soap opera aspects. It's there, but it's not dominant to it. So far so good for Stargirl. We'll see where that goes in the next one. Doom Patrol had a lot of interesting aspects of it in its first season, and the first season is an introductory season, so you get to know your characters and their stories and all that. And it had all this aspects of surrealism. At the time, I was in the middle of watching Legion, which there again I compared the two, Doom Patrol and Legion. In that both shows were utilizing surrealism in their whole world, and concluded that Legion did it much better, and was truly a surreal show in a lot of ways. Unfortunately, it didn't end well. It kind of fizzled and had some rather strange ethical aspects to it that I may have been an accident. But anyway, still, in a lot of ways, a superior show to Doom Patrol. The problem for Doom Patrol is that its second season, it does fall into another aspect of CW traps, and not just CW, a lot of shows do this, is repetition. And so a lot of the character development and details of the characters just gets repeated over and over again. And it's like the issues and stuff that came to some resolution, they just do it again as if it didn't happen. Not that they don't acknowledge it, they do, but it's just like, it's not going to go very forward. They have a few sets already built. It's clear that they just don't have the budget and money to go anywhere else. There's some aspects in it that they solved that with some interesting aspects. The best part of it is the story of Dorothy and her father, Niles, and that's pretty good, but it's minimal. They did do the wise thing that it was not as many episodes as a lot of these series have, and that maybe they should shrink it even more, because apparently they didn't have the material. But it's all the ultimate threat of her supposedly imaginary friend, the candle maker, which is not so imaginary after all. And that was interesting. And it ends on a cliffhanger. The mystery there, and there's is the candle maker the entity that it appears that an entity has invaded Jane's personalities. It looks like it's an old one that they thought was gone, and she comes back and takes over. And then just come to find out, no, that personality is dead, and this is someone else that's destroying Jane from within. And maybe it is. I'm not completely up on the Doom Patrol stories, so I don't know how close this does follow with the comic books. But perhaps it is the Candlemaker and is eliminating the big threat that Jane poses. There's other very surrealistic things where they deal with the scants and stuff like that, which is pretty good. It has its moments. It's pretty good. It's not a total loss, but it's material you've already seen within the show, and they keep going back to it. So it just, I got bored, and there's a lot of cool stuff about it. It looks cool, but there's just not enough there. It's like, why is this still going? And as far as a superhero story, it really isn't. They're just a bunch of messed up people in a weird situation, and they talk about their feelings. That's the CW trope. So it's very much there. But there, the aspects of it is a similar thing. They formed a family, and there's similarities with Umbrella Academy, and it's just this group of people in this weird situation, and all that sort of stuff. So it's very similar, and both of them are sort of these weird, surrealistic knockoffs of the X-Men. And so there's kind of like that, and they even have, their leaders. Niles Calder is the Professor X. He's even in a wheelchair for Doom Patrol. Now, they came out of at the same time. I'm not saying they're complete knockoff. I can't remember exactly when Doom Patrol. It was in the 60s, but I can't remember exactly at what point it came out to say it's a complete ripoff of X-Men. It is its own entity. For Umbrella Academy, it's very recent. But there again, they have this father figure who, spoiler, is dead at the beginning of the series, but nevertheless, and it's kind of like they're both rather dark versions of Professor X, and how they manipulate and really abuse what is essentially their children. Certainly, not all of the members of Doom Patrol could be considered Niles' children. Jane, and of course his own daughter Dorothy is, but he is more the founder and leader of this, and without him they wouldn't have existed, since he manipulated the situation that made them what they are, which is the ultimate cruelty of all this. He justifies it because he wanted to find a way to seek immortality to protect his daughter from the terrible danger that dwells within her and all that. But that doesn't really justify what he did. Meanwhile, you have Hargreaves in Umbrella Academy, who, he's a bit of a cruel bastard. And I have not read any of the Umbrella Academy comics. I remember seeing the ads and whatnot, and it looked cool and interesting, but I don't really know a whole lot about it. I do know some snippets about it and who their father really is and all that sort of, which they revealed in the the second season. He's an alien, all that stuff. But again, with this one, similar to Doom Patrol, the first season is much better than the second one. It's a bit more tight and its delivery and all that in the rollout. But the second season kind of it doesn't completely fall apart. It's just like they run out of ideas here, and they kind of, one point they set up things to make points about civil rights and whatnot, and then kind of hurry up, wrap that up, and move on. It's a bit chaotic and stuff. There's the business of the white violin. That's the artist formerly known as Elliot Page's character. It doesn't look anything like the comic book character, which is kind of unfortunate, but then again, maybe not. But in the first story, the first season, is all this build-up and story about her and why she was kept out of the rest of the group, and her powers were hidden from her and all this sort of stuff, and she was really tormented by this. But at the same time, it's like Niles Calder here, the fear that her power is too great and would be very dangerous if it manifested, and that turns out to be pretty much true, but it's the situation that creates it. About she had suffered all this abuse, and she's very angry and lashes out. And that sets up for the next season where they have to escape into the past because she basically destroys the world at the end of the first season. But there's all the cool aspects of there's this mysterious commission that controls time or keeps it abreast. And there's the odd story about number 5 and his abilities and whatnot, and all of that. And in comparison to Doom Patrol looks much better. The adaptation of the characters is much closer to their comic book roots. In the Umbrella Academy, other than the school uniforms that they had when they were kids, there's really not a whole lot. Almost none of them look like their comic book characters. I mean, especially with number 1. They got what they got to put him there. But, I mean, he's just a really oddly muscle-bound guy with back hair. And that's what he's ashamed of. Where in I don't know what the situation was in the comic book, if his head was actually transplanted onto an ape's body or what, I don't, or he literally transformed into, I don't know. It was a very odd looking guy. But the money required to keep that, for every episode and whatnot, obviously they opted for this. And so, okay, I understand that. But there's very little resemblance between the two. But there again, they go through things in the previous season and they kind of repeat it again. It's just, well, they're fleshing it out. And in a lot of ways, their second season does flow better than Doom Patrol's second season, and it's not as hindered by repetitive stuff, but it's still kind of there and doesn't really deliver. One of the things, I don't know, again, I don't know the comic book of the sexuality of White Violin. She's clearly interested in men in the first season, and then suddenly she does suffer amnesia, but does that suggest if an amnesiac is hit on by a homosexual, they will agree to be a homosexual? I don't think it works that way, but that's what happens. And obviously this is a nod to her own, well, his sex. I don't, that's the problem you get in with this, although Elliot's marriage has ended. I don't. Is that why? I don't. They seem to be amicable about it, but technically she's no longer a lesbian. She's a man. I don't know, but will that be in the third season? Because the relationship with the man that she has in the first season is how she discovers her powers, because he's using her to find it because of his revenge fantasy against the Umbrella Academy for rejecting him when he was a kid. And she ultimately kills him in her anger at all this has happened to her. But she generally loved the man. She was interested in him and all that sort of stuff. And now suddenly she's all about being a lesbian and all this stuff. There's nothing there to indicate something that big, which it is. I didn't see anything in there. Didn't get she's bisexual or what have you. And that's what it's just thrown out there. And you know why? So it's the kind of thing that pushes you out of the story, where now I'm hearing the actress's story or what have you rather than the characters. So, it's not I don't have a problem with lesbian characters being in there. It's fine. But when you turn around like that, and there's lots of shows do this. This one was rather blatant and kind of just lazily done. But I go back to like the first season of Supergirl, where they're setting up her sister to have a romantic interest with the villain of Maxwell Lord. The second season, they drop all that, they drop Maxwell Lord, and suddenly their sister's a lesbian. That she doesn't discover she's a lesbian until she's 30 or something like that. It was ridiculous. But it's this part of the thing of, oh, damn it, I forgot a token or whatever. They had, they do have a gay character in there, although I think they pretty much established that he's probably bisexual, but more gay than not. He falls in love with a man. He accidentally gets himself sent back to Vietnam, and he falls in love with one of the soldiers there, and the soldier unfortunately dies, and he's devastated by this. So it's like he's gone, and then he comes back, and he's all devastated, like, wow, what happened? Oh, yeah. And that was actually pretty good. and it's all developed and everything. They developed this story between I just call her White Violin, Paige's character, with it, but it's at odds with what they'd already established. So you just didn't do the work, and I have to conclude they didn't know they were going to do that. So I don't know. Maybe the comic book that has happened, and that's the way it is in there, but it's just not weaved right to get you there. And so that's part of the problem of the virtue signaling type stuff that comes in, where you just want to slap that out there without doing the work for your characters and your narratives and plot and whatnot, and it hurts your story. Oh, and another aspect that this creeps up in a lot of shows, not just these, is this constant, somewhat attack on fatherhood. And I'm sure they would argue that they're not. They're just showing it's a difficult relationship and it has different elements to it. Yeah, I can understand that, and certainly I'm sure that's how both shows will deal with their father figures here with Niles Calder and Reginald Hargreaves. But there is within the lesbian romance between Paige's character and the woman that she ends up living with. Well, the woman has a husband and an autistic son and all this situation there. And the husband's immediately the bad guy. He's kind of an a-hole and, and stuff like that, but he's not evil. He's not, but he's treated as such and ultimately gets killed. Just because he's upset that his wife is cheating on him and he doesn't want her to leave and all this stuff. I'm sorry, but no, that what happens to him is very wrong, and the way he's treated here is very wrong. There's not enough there to seem to insinuate that she's afraid of him and that, he must have been abusive, but they don't demonstrate that he beats her or anything like that. Or that, and he was thinking that the son would be better off in an institution. Well, that's his opinion on the matter. You can argue with him on it and lay out the case that he was wrong, but that doesn't make him evil. And I don't think you can make the argument that he didn't care about his son. He did, and that was very poorly done, and really, and will there be ramifications for it? Will there be no, there won't be. It's just looked upon at the times that the gay relationship wouldn't have been accepted and all this sort of stuff, and his brother is in law enforcement and he uses that against them and all that. But essentially under that, even if this was a woman leaving with a boyfriend and was running away with her child, he could still have her arrested for kidnapping, because it was this. There's no settlement here. There's no you can't just run away and disappear like that. So it was just really stupid. The rest of it, with Kennedy's assassination, they deal with. It is somewhat interesting because there's been other shows that have done this. What if he had lived? Would it have been a lot worse? Because I've seen several of those. I think it was like one of the new Twilight Zones in the 80s or 90s or whatever had this scenario where this time traveler saves Kennedy from being assassinated, but events begin to unravel, and in World War III begins to happen as a result. And then this is what appears to nearly happen. You get a cool opening where they actually are souped up. You actually get superhero action for a few seconds, and then it's gone. The ultimate ending where there's the adopted daughter of the handler, and we see her. She has a lot of fighting prowess and all that. And I understand the coolness is that she's able to adopt number two's powers, and she's copying his, and that's her superpower that we didn't know she had, but she did, and that's the reason why Handler wanted her and he killed her parents and all this sort of stuff. But ultimately, it's kind of, this all of a sudden she's there and she's awesomely powerful and she wipes out the White Violin and all this stuff. I don't know. I think they would have seen evidence of that more earlier than not, than just, she can take on what's-his-face in a fight. That's, not good enough. And certainly the teleporting of number of 5, she would have certainly utilized early on, too. But, well, they just wanted it to be a big surprise at the end there. So it does end on a bit of a cliffhanger note where it looks like time has changed and altered, and they may be in an alternate timeline when they get back home. That maybe season 3 will bring it back. But so between the two, Umbrella Academy is the better show. But there's pros and cons that both have. But Doom Patrol, I think it had some, again, cool aspects, but its second season kind of fell flat a little more than Umbrella Academy had. So Umbrella Academy wins overall. Doom Patrol wins on just, it's more loyal to the source material, at least on the aesthetics of it. But story-wise, just browsing through a synopsis of Umbrella Academy, seems like at least the first season was more or less pretty close to what the story was supposed to be about, certainly concerning the white violin and all that. So I guess Umbrella Academy ultimately wins, and we'll see what the third season does. As for Doom Patrol, I don't know. I mean, it felt like a kind of a laborious trudge to get through it, even though it's not that many episodes. But I don't know. We'll see. I'll probably watch it, but it's going to have to up its game in some form or fashion. Don't know. All right, there you go. Doom Patrol versus the Umbrella Academy. Thanks for watching and listening. Say, while you're still here, why not like and subscribe and share with your many friends? Yes. Also, check out my mini stores in the link description below. Yes, where you can get t-shirts, hats, mugs, all those goodies with my artwork on them. Oh, yeah. And head over to indieplanet.com and pick up a copy of my comic book, Night Night. Oh, yeah. You can also catch me at my podcast, Mr Nailsin Show, on RadioMisfits.com. And you can also watch my videos on BitChute.com and now on Rumble.com. Oh, my goodness, so many places to watch me and my stuff. Oh, yeah. And if that's not enough for you, well, you can follow me on many social media platforms and say hi to your old pal, Mr. Nailsin.